Law student
Essential.
All right, Benny. Long time no see.
It is good to be back.
Yeah. So we're now 2Ls, right?
Yep.
So
Time goes by quick.
yeah, we were too busy to record ourselves.
Yes, we apologize if we haven't put any previous episodes, but we underestimated how busy we were going to be.
Yes. Especially 4 people gathering together was extremely hard.
Yeah, we all had different schedules, so it was a little difficult
Yeah.
to try and match up everything.
Yeah. So today, just you and me, Benny. So tell me, I heard you did some TA in the past semester. How was your experience?
Yes,
as a
so I
TA?
did it in the summer after 1L year.
Oh, what is TA, by the way?
So TA is teaching assistant. Depending on what the professor needs, you're going to have different responsibilities. So, for example, what I did was I worked with 3 of my professors, my contracts professor, my legal writing professor, and the academic advisor at the school. And we were doing a project which is one class before 1L year starts, which is what I did as a student before my 1L year.
Very nice.
And it's a class that combines contracts, legal writing, and just general law school essentials, if you want to call it that. So that incoming students, they get a feel for what law school is going to be like. They're going to take a final for that class. There's going to be a memo due. So it's like a combination of your first semester, I would say.
Nice.
And yeah, it's a good experience for students just to get a feel of what to expect.
Very good. Just like what we're doing here, this law school essentials.
Right.
All right. I worked as a RA as well.
And what is our RA?
RA is a research assistant. I closely work with the professor, and I earned some money to buy some food. And
We always need that.
yeah, and I did some legal research, and I created some materials for her classes, and I got her very good recommendation letter afterwards. So it was really, really beneficial for us. I would highly recommend that activity to other law students.
Yes, it's always good to do something extra with the professors because, so for me as an example with the teaching assistant, I was able to help in the class planning. I even got to write a memo assignment myself. You're more closer with the students as well. And it's not limited to 1L year because, for example, now I'm taking evidence. We have TAs for that too, who are 3Ls. So it's really good just to get, close to the professors, just like you would need a recommendation letter, which are always useful. And yeah, it's always a good idea.
Cool. What do you think the difference between 1L year and 2L year is?
So 1L year, you don't really know what to expect, right? So first semester, I think the biggest problem is managing your schedule, managing your time, because it's not really after you're well into the semester that you know what to expect, how the readings are going to be, when to do those readings, when to outline. Especially with legal writing, you have assignments due. You got to do those as well as the readings for normal the lecture classes. 2L year, you don't really have that unless you're doing an upper class writing course, such as drafting, which I'm doing right now. But it's not really the same thing because there's more leeway. And also another big difference is the credits, the amount of credits you take, because 1L year, I think you take an average of 15 credits per semester. You only need 11 credits minimum to be full-time. So at 2L year and 3L year, you get to pick your own credit load for each semester, which is always helpful because, you can plan ahead. You can say, okay, I want to take classes on this day and maybe do a clinic, which is like a practical placement. So work experience, and then you could do a clinic on such and such a day. Like this, you could plan better. But 1L year, you have no control over that. You're given your schedule and you got to stick with it.
Right.
So I would say the biggest difference between 1 year and 2 year is that. Also, just getting used to law school life. So undergraduate is completely different, which I'm sure everyone knows by now. You know, besides the scheduling, each course isn't really. I think undergraduate, they're not stressing analytical skills more unless you're taking comparable classes. I think you have more leeway on how to do assignments. Again, depending on which school and classes you take. But law school classes are definitely more different, you know, besides the famous cold calling, which you rarely experience in undergraduate unless you get that professor who likes to do that. I think that's the biggest one. You can always, they always have these clubs going, all these activities going on, but for 1Ls, I don't see how it could come easily to just do everything. Because you just have so many things going on, you don't know what to prioritize. I mean, of course, you got to do classwork first, but you also want to have social life outside of class. So that's always difficult.
Yeah. So as a 2L, I can choose any classes.
It'll depend on the school, right? So every school might have prerequisites, so everyone has to take professional responsibility at our school. You can choose to take it any semester you want, but you have to take it.
You are now focusing on business law and security stuff, and tax law.
Right. So the school has things called certificates, which are sort of like majors in undergraduate. So I chose the business law one, and I have requirements for that. So like a major, you got to take certain classes. And so for business law, I got to take, these foundational classes like corporations, which everyone takes anyway, corporate finance, securities regulation, things like that. And then you also have to pick out of skills classes, seminar classes, things like that, like advanced seminar. So, for example, I chose secure transaction as an elective, and and so forth. But you don't have to do that. I mean, you could take whatever you want if you don't pick a set path, meaning a certificate or any equivalent at any other school. So you could basically pick whatever you want, but unless the school has other classes that you have to take, such as professional responsibility, I know other schools have something like legal regulation or something like that. They have other classes that they may require their students to take. So it'll depend on the school.
Yeah, and I am also concentrating on IP, intellectual property, and I have taken patent law, copyright law, and now I'm taking patent practice. And I'm working with an attorney as a part-time job.
That's great.
Yeah, so it's amazing. That's the reason why I came to law school. So everything's going well.
2 a year, I think, is more important to do something during the semester as well. Something practical. So you said you're doing working at a law office. I'm doing a clinic, which is every school has clinic placements, clinic offerings. So, for example, at my school, we have something called a mediation clinic, which is where you act as a mediator at a court. And, it's always good to get practical experience. You would do this during the summer as well, of course, but during the semester, I think it's better because you have experience in doing classes while at the same time working, which is different than just working during the summer.
Right.
So I think you have more of a chance to get used to, I guess, how the real world would be like. You're always going to get assignments. You're always going to do something at work. And so I think it's a good balance to have.
What do you think about law schools talking about networking every time? Networking. What's networking? What's the key point of networking?
Right. So the goal of networking is to obviously get those connections that will help you later on. The legal profession is a profession that's very, I would say, very connected, meaning depending on the region where you practice, I think you're going to start coming across the same people. it's a very tight-knit field.
Mm-hmm.
So, networking allows you to get into that field,
Mm-hmm.
get into those circles that you want, depending on what field you want to practice in.
Mm-hmm.
So networking would be very important. It is very important.
Mm-hmm.
And as a student,
Mm-hmm.
you're basically starting from zero, right? I mean, unless you had a plan before law school, you already knew where you were working, you already had a job, which is rare.
Mm-hmm.
I would say you have to step out of your comfort zone and attend those events, which is why it's also as a 1L is difficult because you want to do that, but at the same time, you really have to take care of your grades, because 1L, first year grades matter a lot. And, while you should be focused, you can always do clubs and activities, which allows you to network within the student body,
right?
Which is very important because, I think people don't realize it, but I think the most important network we can have is with our fellow law students.
That's correct, Benny.
Because, because they know you more personally, I think.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe you might meet your future partner in a law firm,
Yeah, right.
You never know. There are students who set up a law firm right after law school. You never know what could happen.
Yeah, I want to reiterate the importance of having friends at law school. I had very hard time at a law school in 1L year, and I got Benny here who supported me without any reason. And I think I could overcome that difficult period by having Benny by my side and talk about the stupid things and talk about podcasts in the future. So yeah, I think definitely you should have friends in law school. And in terms of networking, somebody advised me that being yourself is the most important rule in networking. I think that's 100% correct.
Right.
Just be yourself and don't try to kiss ass. And just
well, you gotta kiss some ass.
I don't know. So yeah, I think just being yourself and just talk to people. That's the key in networking.
Right. I mean, as a law student, it might be difficult at first because you're not used to it.
Yeah.
But just try. You have to at some point. Right. Better earlier than later, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Moving on.
What's your experience, let's say, with professors? Like, what kind of teaching style were you most comfortable with? What would you recommend to future law students, how to better cope with different teaching styles? And since you came from Korea,
Right.
You had more of a disadvantage, maybe a language barrier or something.
Yes, that's right.
Compared to other students. So what would you recommend to other students who perhaps English wasn't their first language, or maybe they're just coming from a different region?
I would recommend that be confident and try. Put your head down and just try. Don't lose hope. Just keep trying. You will get there. If you keep doing that, your ability will improve and your professors will notice that you're trying very hard, and eventually you will get there. Yeah, you will get there. I'm getting there, I believe. And you will get there. What do you think, Benny?
Yeah, so I mean, coming from my position, I think I had some sort of an advantage because I was used to, doing things in English at school. Mm-hmm. For me, it was just more of getting used to law school life, and each professor would have their own teaching style. And of course, I wasn't that used to the cold calling. Mm-hmm. So even as a native English speaker, it's still difficult because it may not be your personality to always raise your hand. Yeah. So when you get called on, especially if it's a subject or a class you didn't particularly like, or perhaps you didn't do the reading, or maybe it's just not you to be that involved in class, it's a little difficult. But I think after the first few weeks or the first few times you get called on, it gets better.
Right.
Because you get used to it, and you should always be trying to be better, catch up with the readings, put the work in.
Right.
And so once you do the stuff, once you know what the readings are, I mean, you should be comfortable with the material enough to be able to answer any question that you get, and you get asked in class.
Right.
And it's always good. I mean, so one thing I thought was good was study groups,
Right.
which I didn't do so much first year, but second year, at least my first semester of 2 year, it worked. I mean, it was so. I mean, I could explain my own experience, and then you could explain your experience regarding study groups.
Right.
So, like I said, 1 year I didn't really do it because I just wanted to be able to know myself first with the material, with law school in general. What were my strengths, what were my weaknesses, and I was more content to study by myself. Of course, if I needed, I would always meet up with someone to ask each other questions that we had about the material, but never, let's say, outline together. I didn't do that. But 2 year I did. And one thing I found important is to make sure you find someone who takes things as seriously as you do. Maybe not too seriously, because then it's sort of strict. You can't really get any fun out of it.
Right.
And not too laid back, because then you'll never get anything done.
Right.
But somewhere in between, I think, is good. And it worked because we were able to go through the material from beginning to end together. And, you won't always understand every part of the class, obviously.
Right.
So having someone else go through the path with you really helped.
Right. For myself, I studied with my friends, very close friends. We talked about what we learned from the professor in corporations law. We talked.
So this is 2 year.
Yes.
Okay.
We talked about what he said, what he mentioned, and we went over cases and rules and holdings and issues, and it was really, really helpful, and it was really, really fun. That's the important part, I think.
And during 1 year, did you try it at all? Study groups?
During 1 year, I kind of formed a group that studied together, but we never actually discussed some issues. But
so what do you think was the main problem? What went wrong? Or what could you have done better as a 1L?
As a 1L, I think I did well.
Well, regarding study groups, I meant. So what would have been a better plan, I guess?
I think my 1L year, you don't have to form a study group, right?
Right.
So I think the way it was, I'm satisfied with.
Okay.
But, English is my second language.
Right.
I wanted to talk more and discuss some issues. So it's been 1 year and almost 7 months, I guess. Now I'm a little bit comfortable with speaking with other students, discuss some issues. So now I'm kind of forming the study groups, I guess.
Okay.
So back then, I think I could not have been done better. Yeah.
Well, I think an important part is being confident,
Right.
especially 1 year. Because if you start thinking, I won't do good, I'll never get it,
Right.
it's really going to hurt yourself, I think. So you have to be confident. Not too confident, because then you sort of don't do anything.
Right.
And you see those people, they're too laid back.
Right.
That's never good. But, you have to be confident.
I just want to say that, everybody is different. Everybody has his or her own strengths and weaknesses. So grades are important, but even if you don't get good grades, I think that's not very important issue. So if you're good at networking and if you have very good attitude, that can stand out even more, So I think students who get low LSAT scores or low GPAs have to know that they can be as valuable as other students or more valuable to law firms. I learned that at a law firm, there are three types of people. First one is grinder. Second one is minder. Third one is finder. So grinders are very smart people who start and finish their work, and minders are who mind other people's work and push their work to make their greatest results. And finder is those who find clients and bring them into the law.
Oh, I see. Okay, I see what you're saying.
So there are many types of talents at a law firm. You should be proud of yourselves and just keep going. Do what you want. Dream big. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I mean, you should always aim, obviously, to get good grades, but don't be discouraged if, first semester, 1 year, you don't do as well as you wanted to.
Yeah.
We all know, at least the people that know how law school works, every class has a grading curve.
Right.
So not everyone can get A's. But you always should try and get that A. Don't get discouraged if you don't get good grades.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, in order to get the most prestigious position, you would need good grades. That's just how it works. But I would say experience counts just as much. Try and do something other than, after class. So, for example, my second semester, 1 year, I went and volunteered with the IRS regarding income tax.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, that might be helpful to me because I'm thinking of if I decide to go into tax law, it's actually a very good position I might get at an accounting firm regarding tax law. You never know what you might get.
Right.
What would happen in the future.
Right.
And if you don't do anything, you don't get anything.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But so if you can just just plant a seed here and there, and then maybe you might get a nice fruit later on.
Sure.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
All right. I think our time is up now. So, yeah. Next time, I want to talk about poker and lawyering. The similarities between playing poker and lawyering.
Yeah, we could talk about the different mindsets and different practices.
Yeah.
So, what are the difference between litigation and negotiation?
That's good. That's good.
How someone reacts to certain things,
right.
What strategies we see from practicing.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, should be good.
All right.
Should be good.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks for having me again. To our audience, again, we apologize if we haven't been a regular. We haven't been posting things regularly.
Yeah.
But we're trying.
We're trying our best.
Let's see if we can start something again.
Right.
Start the ball rolling and see where it goes.
All right. See you later. Bye.
Take care.
Stay tuned. Essential.